Okay, folks, welcome back to episode 8 of the Lockdown Podcast. Last week on episode 7, we had on Samantha McColgan from the Northwest Wolves, and she was talking about the female development within wheelchair basketball in Northern Ireland. So thanks, Sam. Some crazy stories, but really insightful in regards to the future of wheelchair basketball and female development, most importantly. And it was brilliant to have her on. So cheers again, Sam. Thank you very much. But this week we will be focusing on our kind of co-host, I suppose, James MacSorley again. So we're going to be looking at James MacSorley's 2018 World Championship experience. And as always, we're joined by Danny Cooper, Club Development Officer. So guys, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for coming back on again.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I suppose we'll get straight into it. Well, to a certain extent, we'll go into our weekly roundup. What's been going on with you guys, and hopefully it's a bit of crack as well for people at home. I've got an absolute belter for you this week, boys. So yeah, my son came into our room at 7 o'clock. I'll say that again, 7 a.m. in the morning, and he had went downstairs to fix a toy. He glued his fingers together, his hands together and fingers together with Superglue. So he comes into our bedroom, wailing, crying, looking like, I don't know, he had hands like a penguin. He just stuck his fingers together. It was and I'm trying not to laugh very hard while worrying about my 6-year-old son. So I'm like, let's go and get sorted. And I've never seen my wife more angry. So she goes downstairs to explore what had actually happened. I can't believe this. And, He'd stuck, do you know the Toy Story toy, Slinky, the dog? He'd glued that to our porcelain tiles.
I thought you were going to say he'd glued all the bits of the Slinky together so it was obsolete. It was just a toy dog. No, he just...
That's what he tried to do, because he'd kind of pulled it and ripped it, and he was trying to fix it, God help him. But he had glue everywhere on our porcelain floor. The dog was stuck to the tile. He had set the glue bottle up onto one of our pieces of furniture, so that has a mark on it as well. All while he's upstairs crying, trying to get this super glue off his hands. And it was just like, oh, nobody. When you become a parent, right? There is no book it could prepare you for that.
Do you know what made me laugh about this was me and you were supposed to meet on Friday, and this is the reason why we didn't meet. And I got a text message Monday morning saying, sorry, we had a situation, and now I know what that situation is. It is so much funnier than it was at the time.
Oh my God. Honestly, we were actually doing a school activity yesterday, and it was like a mindfulness thing. So it said, what have you learned throughout this lockdown period? And he wrote, don't glue your hands together.
Brilliant.
Advice.
It is solid advice.
Stick that in the fridge. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't glue it on though.
Slinky, would you?
Use magnets, don't glue it.
So yeah. Funniest one, definitely funniest one yet. And by the way, I don't know whether you've noticed or not, but Phil's Barbers is still in action here. Yeah, I'm still bringing the fire, with a fade.
It looks like you just burned it off. You're right.
Oh dear. So James, how have you been getting on?
Aye, grand. We're allowed outside a bit more now. We're allowed a bit more freedom, and you're allowed to go over to you're allowed to meet up in other friends' houses. I was going to say other people's houses. You have to know them, or else that's a different kind of illegal. But you're allowed to meet up in friends' houses in groups of 10 or less, as long as you're still sort of social distancing. So, me and my teammate that I live with and my fiance, who we all live here, we went over to a friend's house and teammate's house for like a barbecue, which was fun to try and do social distancing wise, but he's got a nice wee outdoor area. He lives on the top floor of his apartment building, so we went over there and had a barbecue and kind of had a good time. And that was really fun, because we'd kind of met up with people from here as soon as it was allowed, but out on the street, kind of walking past them at 2 meters and waving and, walking along the beach. And there was thousands of people, it felt like, walking around. So you're kind of dodging people and whatever. So it was nice to sort of meet up with people for the first time, and it'd be relaxing and yeah, it was a lot of fun. So kind of feel for the first time that I've got a bit of interaction with people from outside this little bubble that we live in, actually in person. So that was really cool. And apart from that, I'm just kind of taken away with the training, trying to source some heavier gym equipment because I'm getting there's a bit of mental fatigue with just the body weight stuff at the minute. So I'm trying to buy some dumbbells and whatever, and that's tough to get at the minute because everyone wants them. So yeah, but apart from that, just training, taken away, nearly finished my psychology course, so that's exciting. And yeah, just waiting.
Yeah, it sounds good though. Getting out, barbecue food is the way forward, by the way. And then being able to be around people is an extra bonus on top of
That's
that.
it. If you cook anything over fire, extra points. If you cook anything that you can pick up and eat with your hand, extra points. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds good though. It sounds like you're kind of getting back to some form of normality to a certain extent. So that's really, really good. And I suppose we're kind of in that easing period. So I'm sure plenty of people can kind of vouch for what you've just said. Danny, what's been going on in the Cooper household?
Yeah, Bundesliga's back. So I've been all over that. Yes, absolutely. Watched a bit of that. Getting on that. So Saturday and Sunday was just back-to-back football to make up for the last 2 months without any live sport. So that was the point number one. I suppose the second part of this is it's less of a story, but more of a task for listeners, I guess. I've listened back to the podcast, and we're going to play a thing called Podcast Bingo. And there are certain things that happen most episodes that if you hear, you can tick off your little list and you can shout house or whatever. So, a few little nuances. Phil will 100% say, I can nearly speak in almost every episode. I will always take a deep breath and go, yeah, almost every time I speak. I'll also say, I'll jump in here if you don't mind. I always do that as well. James will 100% drop something, either a glass, a microphone, or whatever. There you are, take that one off. And last one, Phil will say at some point, if you don't spread your butter evenly, you get rubbish toast. So if you hear any of them, tick them off and let us know. And yeah, have a bit of fun during lockdown. There you are.
Yeah, happy
Next
days.
one, if I end a sentence with, yeah.
Tick it off.
I'm gonna. I can nearly speak.
Very good.
There you go.
Yeah.
Lost.
Brilliant.
Take a sip of tea anytime one of these happen.
Yeah, that's the other one. If you see this,
Yeah.
that's a regular. That is a regular.
Tick it off.
Okay. Cheers, boys, as usual. It's good to hear what everybody's at. And it's good to get some funny stories. And Danny, you've just added, something class for people out there listening, which I'm still surprised at, to be honest with you. But
it very rarely happens. Something class happens, really.
Yeah, a bit of crack. So, boys, let's get into it. Obviously, we've got James Mac on every week, but we kind of can't bypass the fact that the guy was involved with the GB World Championship winning side back in 2018. So that's what we're here to discuss today. So in 2018, the World Championships were held in Hamburg, Germany, over the 16th to the 26th of August. The tournament consisted of 16 men teams and 12 women's teams. The pool of the GB kind of guys were in was a couple of heavy hitters, obviously with GB being in there. Pool B was GB, USA, South Korea, and Poland. So the main two teams obviously in there are going to be GB and US straight off the bat. Poland are no slouches, and then maybe Korea, are obviously, underdogs to a certain extent within a pool of that kind of caliber and class. So I suppose the bit that I'm interested in from a talent development officer, James, is like it's great that we're going to get your thoughts on the whole tournament game by game, on the build up right up to the final. But the bit that really interests me is the kind of build up to that. What was it like in terms of like the build up towards selection, like pre and post selection? What were your feelings like?
Well, first I'd like to say thanks for not having me on because I'm on all the time, but thanks for the opportunity to talk about myself so much, because that is largely why I do this and anything else. So, Yeah, well, I think if I zoom out far enough, I moved to Sheffield that year to centralise with the GB team with a view to, I wouldn't even say with a view to make a World Championship squad within a year, because that's fairly far-fetched, I would have thought. So I moved over there to try and get better and be around good players and good people and expertise and high-level support, and that's exactly what I got. Like, a load of the guys that were in the squad were centralized that year, myself included, and it was really cool just to be with those guys Monday to Friday every week and play with half of them in a club game on a Saturday. Like, that was a really, really like enriching experience, and a lot of, like, I'd say every one of those guys taught me something over the year. Like, they all taught me a lot, I would say. So that was really cool. So I didn't get the experience that a lot of guys playing abroad have of selection being like a, you play your club season, you come to camps obviously, and selections are, and player assessments and whatever are made throughout the year, and they keep tabs on how you're playing. But like, it kind of starts in the summer. You get a certain amount of players back for the full summer and you work from there. So I was kind of there all year working towards it, but you try and cut down your numbers. Obviously, you have 12 in a squad. You normally have 16 if you include your reserves for camps by the end of it. And yeah, the process was really strange because I knew I was playing well, I knew I was getting better and whatever, but I didn't think there was any chance I was going yet, because I still didn't think I was there. Like, I think the best example of how much I believed in it was, I think Anna booked her, like, I told Anna to not book her flights until I got like picked. Like, I was so, eventually I think we might have booked them a little bit early with the understanding that I would absolutely just want to go and watch it anyway. Like, either she goes and watches me, or we both just go on a bit of a holiday. That's what we did in Poland this summer when I didn't make it because I got sick or whatever. We both just went. So I really didn't think it was going to happen, and I had a couple of people had said to me earlier on, like, you're playing really well, you've got a chance and whatever. So that didn't really change how I went about things, because you're either there to try and get better, or you're there to try and get picked for a team because you've gotten better, and then try and get better to help people win games. So I don't know, turn up, work hard, and it kind of went pretty well, you could say. Yeah, that's very vague and very, yeah, that's not very specific, but that was it. Like, selection was really, really cool, and it was kind of a high pressure environment, but also I'd been there all year and it was in the same spot, and there were obviously different people and higher level players who were playing abroad had come back and whatever, but it was largely a fairly similar setup. Like, it was Monday to Friday in Sheffield, unless we had tournaments away or whatever, but they were just cool experiences. So yeah, I think moving to Sheffield kind of prepared me for it, which was nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And the year before that, you were kind of preparing again to go to that kind of like transition, if you know what I mean, going across. And we talked about that in podcast 1. So if you haven't heard that, go back, listen, get a bit of history behind it, and then you can move forward to this one. But yeah, I suppose from my point of view, a silly question, but you know, how much rest did you get the night before the actual selection kind of like meeting, or sitting down with the powers that be to be told you're in, you're out? How did that feel?
I got a message from, I got a message of support basically the night before from someone I'm not gonna, like, it wasn't, I'm not naming them for any specific weird reason, but just like a, someone who knew when selection was gonna happen, being like, hey, just keep going, like, keep your head down. Because we were playing friendlies against Japan that week and trying different lineups and whatever, obviously, as like a way to have a look at that. And so you play a scrimmage. It was in like a camp when we were playing scrimmages and whatever. So you play a scrimmage and then you eat some food and you go to bed because you've got another scrimmage in the morning.
Yeah.
And the last scrimmage before we get selected, no word of a lie, I made the stupidest mistake I've ever made on a basketball court. Like, just absolute brain fart territory. Like, I'm not going to be specific about what it was, but it was like basically like some sort of being unaware of what was happening around me, what the score was, type thing like that. Like, yeah, I just absolutely made a rookie error, and I was like, oh God, that's it, it's done. But that was really stupid because I'd had a full year of good work behind me, and I don't think that hurt it too much.
That's really interesting, though. It just shows it's a holistic thing, and one moment in time is not definitive. It's a process,
one moment might get you picked if you're pretty good, and then you have an absolutely brilliant game. Like, I remember we had the the Premier League finals in the end of May, it would have been Sheffield Steelers against Oldham Owls, and I had a pretty good game. I don't know, like, points were in the teens. I don't know, was it like 15-ish? But when I got subbed off near the end of the game, our coach, my Steelers coach, Kev Hayes, pulled me to the side and he was like, if that doesn't get you on the plane, I don't know what will. So, like, maybe a good game can get you on, but I don't know if making a mistake could ever throw it away. But no, that was really funny. So I think that kind of gives you an idea of how nervous I was, because you're playing a game and you're just thinking about, you're about to have a meeting in a couple of hours that will determine whether what you wanted to do when you were 11 is going to happen or not. Like, so no, that was very nervous. But no, I never have trouble sleeping. Like, look at my Fitbit right now. I probably slept about 9 hours last night. That doesn't stop me sleeping. It'll affect me. Like, I probably threw up, but I'll sleep. But yeah, no, it's really weird because, like, you're kind of, there's 12, 16 guys, I think, maybe more, I don't remember, but all playing and training together, knowing that tomorrow there's going to be a meeting, and more than half a year going on a plane, and some of you aren't missing out. But it's like a really cool thing that the group doesn't kind of splinter off and divide, and everyone kind of sticks together and can still work, like, together to go forwards. Like, that's a really impressive thing for a squad to do, because I would have thought that in some other teams, selection might be a bit of a touchy time for people. But no, it was really cool. Everyone was really supportive the whole time of everyone else, more or less, and it was great to be around. But yeah, still very nervous.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear that, it sounds like you built up over that year, obviously being within the program, within Sheffield Steelers and playing at home, kind of domestic league. It sounds like you built up a lot of trust there, between kind of like club coach, obviously national team setup and one thing or another, and one moment in time of making a mistake is just a mistake, in my opinion, is a way to kind of learn. And that's something that we're constantly trying to put across the young players is that don't worry about that. It's what you do next is gonna have the impact. It's about learning in that kind of moment, right? How do we move forward with doing X, Y, and Z, even though we've made that mistake maybe at that point in time. So it sounds like you got that kind of like trust in the bank 100%. So tell me, what was the emotion like once you had kind of been told you're in?
It's a really strange feeling, because, like, I've been in a couple of selection meetings with under 22s and whatever, and obviously by the time I was established in, like, junior setups, it was a lot of, like, yeah, of course, type stuff. Like, but I'm always nervous. Like, I went into my last under 23 selection meeting and had like a full 10-minute chat, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, like, yes, but because I was the old boy at that stage. But that was really weird. The whole time I was just like but yeah, this one, it's very strange, and I think we got the yes or no out of the way at the appropriate time, so I wasn't too nervous. But also, I think if you hear it right at the start, you can just kind of, if you hear yes, you're like, happy days, and then you stop listening. Or if you hear no, you're like, I don't want to listen to you. So no, it was really cool, and I feel like it was handled, like, because it's probably hard to handle. Like, it's probably hard to set that up in a way that you're not making it uncomfortable for people. But no, it was great. I was really nervous, and then after it, I think I just made a couple of phone calls. It was like Anna home, to my dad and my sister. Phil, you probably got a call pretty quickly after that. Like, so yeah, that's it. You get some good news, and you kind of get in touch with the important people. And I remember it was funny because I got the good news and then drove home, and then a couple of the other boys that had found out that I was coming or whatever, or kind of knew, were like phoning me to ask me, and then I'd have told them. And they were like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "I've gone home." And they're like, "What?" Like, we were all gonna go for some food, and I was like, "Oh, sorry." So I drove back into Sheffield to see someone who I'd like told, and we were kind of, you're meant to keep it quiet, but I feel like there's a thing if you tell, like, teammates can figure it out and whatever. So I didn't feel too bad. I'm wondering whether I should be talking about the fact that I was telling people on this podcast, but 2 years ago now, and I told a very small select group of people who I trusted to not tell anyone else. So I feel like it's fine. But yeah, that was very funny. I just kind of phoned a small group of important people and then went home to chill out. And then people were like, "Where are you?" Like, a couple of us are going for a bite to eat or whatever. Do you not want to come? And I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool." Back in the car, half an hour down the road again. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was
No,
like,
it's a weird one. You kind of don't believe it. Yeah, I probably cried a little bit.
absolutely. And talk,
Understandable.
Brian. I was talking to Danny about this earlier on because obviously we work closely in tandem with everything we do with Wheelchair Basketball, and I was saying that something that really I remember reading the squad announcement on the website, and it was something that kind of not choked me up, but kind of looking back on it, it was really had a bit massive impact on me. So this statement was wrote about James. Belfast man James MacSorley is a new member of the GB senior squad and a fantastic team player. And that kind of hit me hard because I had seen you go from juniors and I knew what that looked like from whether we were training camps, whether we were playing in big competitions. And then watching you move into that, and it was a perfect summary for you at that time of your career. And it made me feel like unbelievably proud to be kind of like involved with you just as a person. But the guys who are listening as well, as we go through the games, you'll understand why that summary is so good and so kind of poignant. Because James will kind of like break it down.
It just means I can't shoot normally. Like, who's a team player? It's just someone who can't shoot, doesn't score, get rebounds, or can't pass the ball. Like, it's that's what that means. Fast, flies about the place, can't shoot, doesn't believe in himself, so he passes to other people.
I'm telling you, buddy. Even like this morning was like I was so excited to get onto the podcast to talk to you about this stuff because it was brilliant. It was brilliant just to be part of and just watch you kind of like grow and excel, and you continue to do that anyway. But now you've been selected. You were on the plane. Give us a wee idea of like what was the opening ceremony like at the World Championships.
I'll have to apologize first because I don't know if you guys can hear it, but there's construction work going on in the building I'm in, so I keep muting myself when I'm not speaking, just so you don't have to hear it. If you hear it in the background, that's what's happening. But yeah, I don't remember 100% like how many days we were there before things kicked off, because you generally get there a little bit early to get set up, and like I remember getting to the hotel and I remember the plane journey and stuff. That's all good fun. Like that stuff you're not thinking about a whole lot yet. You're just in an airport with 11 of your mates. Like, so that's just a lot of fun no matter where you're going. You could obviously, if you have a game that night, maybe you're thinking about it, but at that point you're just trying to travel and stay healthy and eat the right stuff, stay hydrated. Obviously, as a wheelchair user, you've got different bits to think about for getting onto a plane, like hygiene and health and whatever. But yeah, those first couple of days are great fun. You go training, and by that stage the training's all about staying loose and feeling good and sort of shaking off the cobwebs from a couple of days of not training and flying and whatever, because being on a plane, even though it was only England to Germany, like that can still sort of you feel pretty tight after all that. But no, the first couple of days are great fun. You kind of just get used to the hotel, and first thing I did was set my coffee machine up. I don't know if you've probably, like Phil, you probably saw it at the time, Danny. I don't know if you knew that, but I brought my Nespresso machine all the way to Germany, set it up in the hotel. and because that was my home comfort. It was great.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, because I like my coffees pre-game and whatever, I always worry if it's going to be nice or not. So I just thought I'll take the worrying out, which did mean that our room ended up being sort of having a couple extra knocks on the door every morning from people being like, get Catlon, not get the Catlon coffee machine on. But yeah, the first couple of days you just kind of get some training in, try and eat well, drink water, and you'll do team like video stuff or physio stuff or whatever. That's all very vague, but first couple of days are about getting ready. If you fly a bit further, it's about getting over jet lag, but we were lucky. Yeah, pretty relaxed. Obviously, there's different levels of relaxing. Like I'm sure your Terry Bywaters or whatever is like, yeah, World Championships. He's walking around like he's in his living room, but the whole time I was a bit like, oh, there's that guy who I've never played against, but have like watched on TV for 10 years. Like, oh, there's this guy, or oh my God, that's whoever. You know what I mean? Like I'm still doing that, like because that's part of the experience of being new. Like, which it was Neil's podcast where he talked about the experience of going into a new room and being like, oh, I don't know how this is going to go. Or if you go from I then related it to going from a younger team to a bigger, like a better team or an older team, or, going from the under 23s to the senior team or whatever. Like that's what that was. Like I was just in the hotel, like, oh God, there's that guy from like, there's this US player or this Canadian player or this German player. Like, you know what I mean? It was a lot of that for me. So I kind of, I'm a little bit shy in terms of that with stuff that I'm not used to. So that was the big adjustment thing for me, getting comfortable within the actual environment, because you need to be able to do that. Like, because you're uncomfortable on court the whole time. Like, obviously it's elite level sport. Like you're working hard and you're under stress and whatever, and it's very high pressure environment. You need to be able to sort of acclimatize yourself to the hotel so that you can come back and chill out. And I was very lucky. I was rooming with Jim Palmer, who I'd roomed with at the juniors and stuff. So me and him roomed together in 2013 at a Junior World Championships in Turkey. So we were like, we're comfortable. So that was a lot of fun. First couple of days is that. And then you mentioned the opening ceremony and I just completely blitzed past it. All I remember was
talk about, because it is something that a lot of people don't experience. Is tournament lifestyle is how I would kind of sum it up. That everyday thing. You're in a new place. You bring home comforts with you to a certain extent. You're with a new person that you're semi-comfortable with, but you're there for a long period of time with that person. So building that relationship's quite cool as well, and having fun. But there is a serious side to that as well, as you've said. You're in an elite, high-pressured environment, and having a good team around you and that includes the staff that were there as well. Having a great team around you that everybody bonds together, almost like a big family, is how I would kind of describe it. And that's only my limited experience of that sort of stuff. So it's really, really interesting to hear you going in and kind of describing it similar to how you would go to a new club or, into just any new environment. Really, you just have to get your feet under the table and kind of ease in and find out what the lay of the land is. So that's quite cool. But in terms of like the opening ceremony, like was there any nerves to a certain extent, or was it just a bit of crack? Was there any decent entertainment?
We spoke about this, and you're laughing already. For anyone watching, Phil's laughing already because we spoke about this, and my whole answer was like, yeah, MadCon were there. We didn't know if it was them or not. The opening ceremony is this is the standard wheelchair basketball tournament opening ceremony, depending on where you are. Loads of people in the same sports hall roasting a speech in a language you don't speak. And some varying level of entertainment. They got MadCon, who have had a chart hit in the song Begging, which is an absolute banger. But they were there. But the introduction of them was in German, so I wasn't, like, they would have said MadCon, but my brain wasn't tuned into listening to everything, so I missed it. So I didn't know it was them. I didn't know if it was just random people singing this song. So we were on the bus on the way back being like, is that them? Do you remember what they looked like? Yeah, I think it was them, wasn't it? And you're like, you don't want to be like, hey, yeah, but yeah, so I've seen MadCon live in concert, which is hilarious. That's actually the best thing I got out of this whole experience, the ability to see MadCon in
Oh
concert.
dear.
No, it
Well,
was.
we've really enjoyed this week's episode. Thanks everyone. See you later.
Well, yeah, that's my lightning round. What was your favorite?
Yeah.
No, it was. That was all I remember from it because 2 years ago now, and there's been a lot of stuff that's happened in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But that was really cool. That was funny, and yeah, normally then you either get shipped off back to your hotel or you go to training, or there's nearly always the first game of the tournament is directly after it. So it would have been Germany against someone in their group who I don't remember, but I think we might have had training or something. So I think we got off. It's all, I don't want to say it's all a blur, but the actual specifics of, like, I could lay out what everything I did, but I don't know whether, like, what order these things happened in. But I don't remember staying and watching a game. So because it was in a different spot, and I know a lot of the tournament is just, okay, there's a bus that you have to get on to get back to your hotel, and this is when the bus is on. So you will be like, you'll be stuck here, or you'll have to wait for the next one when the next different team that you don't know gets a bus if you don't want to get on this one. So you just end up leaving.
I think it pretty much had like we're gonna. I think the way we're gonna do this is sort of I'll go with game one, Danny go with game two, and so on and so forth. And just fire questions at you, but you almost had about 24 hours, I think, between the 16th and the opening ceremony, and then Friday the 17th was game one in the pool against South Korea, and the result was South Korea 58, GB 77. What can you remember from those games? You know, because you were a starter, I believe, in that game. How did that feel? Were you a starter?
I was what? Sorry?
Were you in the starting five? No, or were you brought on?
I was not. No, I didn't start all tournament. I was last man on the bench type role all tournament, which is fine. Like, that is absolutely, that's where I should have been and was. So I kind of got on when the game was already out of reach, which is a nice experience for someone who gets nervous before big games, because this was a big game in my head as a first game of a World Championships. Yep. So the game was already sort of out of touch in terms of the score. So I was able to come in and just kind of get used to the pace of the game. Because I played at that speed before with, like, in GB camps and friendlies and stuff, but I was able to get used to the sort of court and the pressure of a World Championship game, but without it being ultimately really important if I didn't play well. So it was kind of fun. It was fun. And at that point, I remember some of our starters who'd played a lot of minutes were resting at that point, and you could hear a lot of encouragement from the bench, which is really cool. Like, that's a standard thing, like when starters come off because the game's sort of out of touch and bench guys go in, starters are very vocal in supporting everyone. So that was a lot of fun to sort of be a part of. Anytime you did something well, you could just hear guys who you've looked up to, like, losing their minds for fun. And yeah, so that was really cool. But yeah, the only thing I remember from that game was just it was my first game. Like,
yeah, I was going to ask you about that
when I pushed the button.
First game, first World Championships. Just take a step back before we kind of roll along court. What was your routine in the kind of like changing rooms? You know, what type of music have you guys got, like, kind of rocking and stuff like that? What's the atmosphere like?
So we'll go in, everyone's sort of stretching. We have a team talk a certain amount of time before the game, every game. And then after that, it's sort of prehab, physical prep type stuff, get yourself ready. And then on the floor, because a lot of tournaments, there's a game just beforehand. So it's not like you can warm up for 3 hours and get shots up. You do your physical prep stuff, you get into your chair, and then you might have 40 minutes if you're lucky. Most of the time you'll get half an hour. So into the team warm up, then we'll do like a bit of a chat in between ourselves, like just on the court before we get into the team warm up. And that's somewhere between motivational and a bit of a joke to chill us all out, depending on what it feels like we need. And yeah, then you get into the team warm up, which is it's already set and rehearsed, and we know what we're doing. It's a load of different drills and stuff to get us ready and firing for the game. And then buzzer goes in for the last minute. You get a minute and a half before the game for a team talk, and by that stage we've already talked about everything. And then yeah, off you go. And then I go sit on the bench and clap.
I don't know about that. Like you really are underselling yourself. You spent like 23 minutes on the court.
Because our starters are class. Like 23 minutes on court, that means that like 17 minutes of the game were gone. It was like, all right, cool, we can get James on now. Class. Like,
no, but again, we are looking at like that team guy as well.
Yeah.
I talked about it at the very, very beginning, and that'll seep throughout the kind of podcast, I suppose. But you did have 2 points in that game as well, a couple of rebounds and a couple of assists as well. So it wasn't all. I know you're very humble, but like you obviously are there to contribute to the team, and you clearly did that within that game. So, but then we're moving on. So Danny, in the game 2.
Yeah, game 2 then. So you played the USA.
Lost by 13.
Yes. Did you? Yes, you did. But obviously we now know that you play them later in the tournament as well in a fairly significant match. So what was that like in that moment?
That was like, it felt like whatever part of my body, I don't know the psychology behind getting nervous. I kind of but like it felt like whatever part of my brain makes me nervous felt like that was game 1, because that was a different atmosphere altogether. I think part of it was there were 2 courts. One was in the big arena and one was a sort of outdoor tent type setup with less seats. And obviously more people are going to come watch the game that was eventually the final than us against South Korea, depending on what other games were on at the same time. So there was a lot more people there, main court, and a bigger, like a better team in a more significant game. So I was very nervous, and you can absolutely see it from the 10 minutes that I played. Like I didn't know where to be. I didn't know what to be at. It's just like, I've spoken about it before, when you play at a lower level and step up to a higher level, you're like, the pace of the game kind of spooks you. And these guys were all big and strong and athletic, and they move the ball quickly, they move themselves quickly, and it kind of, I wasn't ready. Like I absolutely was not at the level to, like, I did not feel like it when I started playing. Just mentally, I wasn't, like, I was overstimulated, and I was too excited and too nervous and whatever, and I did not play well. But yeah.
Actually, I think the funny aspect of that is that point in time, you've just lost to USA, and you didn't know at that point you may meet them again in the future. So we now look back and go, you did. But I think actually, and I suppose this will map out as we go through the tournament more, quite interesting to see that turnaround as well, from that down from game 2 to game 7, which we'll discuss next. So Phil, you move on to Poland.
Yeah. I suppose just to ask you a quick question, James, or to tell you need to get your money back on your psychology course.
I just, like, no one's here to listen to me talk about beginner's psychology from an online course, so I decided to pretend I didn't know it.
My only question was there an adjustment period post game when you kind of went, right, okay, there's a different level to this, where I've got that kind of ripped that plaster off. I've been on the floor with some of the world's best players. I know I can compete, but I need to control my mind over my body.
Yeah, I think there's an adjustment period to every time you get on the floor with someone. You've heard, like, some of the people who've come on this podcast talk about playing against, like, Con or Matt Ralston, where like, it's just, if I know someone's quicker than me, you can adjust how much space you give someone, or like, there's ways to stop people that are quicker than you. And I just remember being like, oh, I didn't give this guy enough credit, or I didn't give this guy enough space, or I give this guy too much space, because I just hadn't played against these guys before. And I don't mean people of that standard, because I've played against my own teammates and we're world champions. So yeah, but I just, like, I remember a couple of specific examples of, like, thinking I'd given myself enough time to get in front of someone and just being like, oh no, okay, cool. But at that time, at that level of the game, you don't get too many goes at that. So
absolutely,
that was an adjustment period, because it's just, anytime you play against a certain player for the first time, or a certain team for the first time, it's tough to sort of guess.
Sorry, Phil, just jump back in, I suppose. I suppose at that point as well, it's quite precarious because you played 2-1, lost 1, and in pool games, that always makes it tough. The minute there's a bit of doubt around we have to do something in game 3, there's a lot of emphasis on that, isn't there? What was there an element of that?
Yeah, the English football fan in you's coming out now, isn't it?
100%. Yeah.
As soon as you get nervous in a group game. No, we came away from that game fairly encouraged, fairly positive.
Good.
We had we'd seen a lot of stuff that we felt good about, and yeah, they had a couple of good runs. We had a couple of good runs, whatever. But we were able to, as any good team is, we were able to have a look at that, take some positive from it, take some learning points from it, and kind of knew we'd see them again at some point if things went the way we thought they would. And yeah, obviously it worked out. But in terms of we have to come out and play really well against Poland because we lost a game the day before, I don't think that's relevant. Like, you're supposed to, we have to come out and play well against Poland because we're international basketball players. International basketball players. Like,
so you've just mentioned, so the next game day 3 was on the 20th of August. So that, again, quick turnaround. You've just played against the current Paralympic champions there, against the US. Really, really tight game to a certain extent, if you know what I mean. And you're then going into game day 3, like 24 hours later, the 20th of August, as I said, against Poland, and then the result ended up 78-46 to GB. What was that kind of game like? You played decent minutes in that game, 8 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 assist again. So, like, you were kind of balling there for a low point player.
I wouldn't say I'm balling. Now, once again, that was a case of, all right, the game's been put away, let's let these boys out. And I got out a little bit earlier, and I was playing. I felt pretty good. A lot of my reads that I made in the 25 minutes that I was on the floor in that game and the game in South Korea and just any time in this tournament was give the ball to someone who knows what they're doing. Give the ball to someone who isn't nervous or who's been here before. Because that is sometimes the right read is to throw the ball to someone who can make the right read. So it was a lot of that, and that was good fun because we were kind of running away with it score-wise, and everyone was playing and everyone was playing well and people were scoring and we were having fun. And that's another one where it's like you beat someone with a move and you can just hear the bench go nuts, or you hit it, you catch the ball and your bench is behind you and you just hear someone being like, do it. Like, that's a uniquely enjoyable experience in team sports, like hearing your teammates egging you on either just before something or just after something. But yeah, felt pretty good. Yeah, I got like an extended period to go out and play and try and do the right thing and try and learn and try and get used to that level. And that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And considering your age as well, whenever you were selected, you were one of the youngest players in the team. You and Greg Warburton, I believe it was, were kind of the new guys age-wise anyway. George might have been in there. Yeah, George Bates as well.
There's a lot of guys around that age, like me, Phil, George, Harry, are all within about a year of each other. Greg's a bit younger. Jim's younger than me, but I think older than Greg. No, he's about the same age as Greg. So like Jim's younger for sure as well.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Yeah, I was in there. I was in the sort of the lower half of the age group. I was one of the young boys.
Yeah, and then I suppose going through the tournament, was there an aspect of kind of getting used to your role, as you've discussed, making sure that you're just making the right moves, you're moving the ball to the right people, you understand the concepts on the floor, and the principles of the game that the coaches are kind of looking to put across? Is that something that you kind of grew in comfortability? Because there's one thing preparing for a tournament, and then there's actually being able to cope with the pressures of a tournament. I suppose there are two different things.
Yeah, a lot of it's psychological at that stage. Like, if you're a decent basketball player who can sort of do all the things that you need to do skill-wise, or some of the things you need to do skill-wise, and you struggle to execute them in a big game, that's as much mental as it is physical. Obviously, there's an element of you can dribble a ball around the court if there's no one there, and obviously if there's a good defender on your foot plate, that makes it difficult, and that is skill. But yeah, a lot of it's psychological, so that's kind of something you work on within playing and just separately off the floor, doing work with sports psychologists and stuff.
Progressed on then, just out of the pool, Germany was next. Again, England football fans, so scary as well. because there was no penalties. But basically, the host nation, as we know, the club system there and the sport there is massive. I mean, there's a magazine dedicated just to the sport in German, so it gives you a bit of a scale of where they're at. What about that? What about the knockout round?
I did not play that game, and it was watching these games is a lot of fun as well. Like, obviously, you're very invested, so you get nervous when it's not going well. But like, yeah, I think came out and they had the home crowd, and obviously that was a very important game for them because if they lost, and they eventually did, that puts them in the bottom half of the draw. Which, as a host, you don't want to be doing that, obviously, but it's a tough draw for them coming up against us as a team who came second in a group. But yeah, the guys that did play, let me see, we had our 5 starters, maybe 6, 7. We might have gone 6 or 7 deep. I don't remember, but they took care of business, and Germany played well at the start, and then I think we kind of just filled out and figured it out. That's all I remember.
Yeah, but that's the pattern of the game. You won 62-54, so it's close enough. But as you expect, it was never going to be an easy game. It was probably as much as a difficult draw for Germany, probably a difficult draw for you guys as well. The way it fell, but no, 62-54, like you say. I think the interesting thing is you did go 6. I think it was 6 deep. Me and Phil talked about this earlier, and that just shows that for full 40, that was an intense period.
Yeah.
You know, what was it like in terms of? Did that feel like a quick game? Did it feel like 40 minutes, or did it feel like it went on for a long time because of the crowd, because of the fans, because of the atmosphere?
My perception of time of something that was 2 years ago is not like I don't remember. That's not something I remember. No, it's tough to sit and watch a game because you feel like you can't affect it. You can just sort of support your teammates, and that's obviously something that's a part of any tournament, sitting on the bench and clapping and giving people encouragement and whatever. And that was my job for the day. And no, I never felt nervous. Obviously, every time someone takes a shot on your team and it doesn't go in, there's a bit of but it's one of those, like, we're a great team, and even if it's taken a little while to get started, I always believe that we're going to get going. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a game that we've started a bit slow and not thought we were going to figure it out. So no, I was pretty chilled.
And then I suppose from my point of view, James, like the obviously we talked about that caption whenever you were selected about being a great team player. I've been involved with junior squads from an NI perspective, from either a head coach, assistant coach, dog's body, team manager, handing out the chalky milk, James.
Chalky milk.
Yeah. And I think the thing that came across is some people who sit on the bench feel like that's a bit of, oh, I'm not really part of it, that type of thing. Whereas whenever I watched the GB bench, there was a lot of towel waving, there was a lot of counting down of the shot clock and so on, encouragement, maybe talking people through things through the game as well. Would that be fair to say? You know, like the team environment isn't just about the 5 players that go on the court. It's about the whole group kind of coming together.
Absolutely. Like, obviously, everyone wants to play. You want to be able to physically help the team, but being on a bench when it's a bunch of good guys is so much fun. Like, there's just so much, like, people are just talking so much nonsense and celebrating and throwing towels about, and when it's going well, it's a lot of fun, and when it's a bit ropey, everyone kind of comes together, and because there's a lot of smart guys on the bench as well. Like, you'll hear some of the older boys that have been playing for a long time, if they're not on the floor, they'll be pulling people when, like, the ball goes out and there's a bit of a break in play. They'll be like, hey, have a look at this, or, you know what I mean? Like, you'll be pulling people over, or when the timeouts are called, you'll see, like, watch that whole tournament, like your Terrys and your Gazes and so their older guys, everyone would come in, they'd push around the back and, like, pull someone to the side as they're going into the timeout, being like, good job, have a look at this, or whatever. It's a lot of fun to be a part of too. And if that's your job for the day, that's your job for the day. Like, the achievement that I never lost sight of was, like, getting into the team in the first place. Like that was my goal. That wasn't even my goal in September. I moved over there like, oh, let's see what happens. So like it sounds stupid, but there's a lot of it where you just feel very fortunate to be there and be involved, and you just help out however you can because it's going to help the team that day. Like, and it is really fun. Like being on the bench when people are shooting well is great fun. Like,
yeah, 100%. And then now that we've kind of like moved through that kind of crossover game almost, and that's a pivotal time. Then we're in their quarters. How were the nerves after that? With the realization where you were going into a quarter final against Spain, which was a very, very, very tight game.
yeah.
Was there an awareness of that? How did you feel prior to that game?
Spain was a bit of a weird one because obviously Spain had beaten GB in the semi-final in Rio, so there was a bit of a feeling of like these guys are dangerous when they play well, and I don't know if there was a bit of a revenge like sentiment going because I don't remember if GB played them in 2017 in the Europeans to sort of put that to bed or whatever. But this quarterfinal is always a bit nervy because if you lose a semi-final, you can come fourth. If you lose quarterfinal, you know what I mean? Like that's
your route.
Your quarterfinal, you lose you can lose one game. Like if you look at GB in the World Championships in 2014, lost one game, but it was a quarterfinal, so you don't get anywhere near the medals. Like if you lose in quarterfinal, doors closed. So that's a very nervy setup in general, and it was a very tight game, and that was the Terry Bywater game. Like game was close. Terry got put on the floor, and his shooting and his threat of shooting kind of opened the floor up for us. And obviously, it's a lot of Spanish guys that are used to playing against him in the league, and he had a couple of very important shots. He had a big three down in the last couple of minutes of the game with the absolutely like iconic Dylan Cummings call. And I remember that game being like, the Terry game. I played about 10 minutes in there somewhere just kind of pushing around, trying to play some good defense and trying to move the ball. There's one point the ball gets swung to me and I'm behind the screen and I just shoot it really early because I was like, good luck, whatever. Trying to like force myself into not being nervous. Missed it and felt real bad. So it's a lot of defensively just try and play good defense on offense, try and move the ball if I have it, or try and pick and like work hard for other people when I don't. And that was a fun experience, but that was the Terry Bywater game. Like
the Terry show, because the final result was GB 67, Spain 62, so it was a real tight, close, aggressive game as well. And as you said, then Terry and his brilliance, sometimes just comes and shines through, but well head and shoulders above everybody else, most of the time when it comes to on the offensive end, you know what I mean? And I suppose like what was the kind of feeling like once you'd kind of won that game, right? We're moving into the semis now. Was there a feeling of was it a just exhale, right? We're into the kind of medal positions now, or did the kind of group not allow that to happen?
We had a job to do, and the job was not to get into the semi-finals and then come fourth. We knew we had a really good chance to get all the way. We knew if we got to the final, we could do the business. We knew we had to get to the final first. And by that stage, we already knew what our path was. Like the way they set the tournament out, it wasn't that they drew it at a certain point or whatever. Like we knew when we came out of the groups that it was Germany, Spain, and then we had Iran in the semi-final, and then probably the US, or it was the US or Australia. So we came out of that game. We were like, all right, Iran tomorrow, because you don't get much of a chance. Obviously, you're like, oh, thank God, you get out of the game, you chill out, but you're mostly chilling out because you want to relax and you want to stretch out and you want to sort of take the psychological strain of elite level basketball off for a couple hours at least. So you go back and you have some food, and really every time you go back you have some food and you're just talking about the game because that's the most recent thing that happened and that's what you would talk about. Like if you were going to watch the game and then you went for a bite to eat, you'd probably be like, do you remember when this happened? Like, but Yeah, you go back, get some food, and because you have a very short turnaround, it is literally finish the game, look after yourself so that you can be in a position to play tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the boys that are playing big minutes are getting some help looking after themselves and like a bit of physio, and everyone's eating and trying to eat the right stuff, trying to get a lot of hydration on board, and then after that you're just chilling out. Like if there's games on after the game we play, there's like there's like an interesting line of some people like, oh no, I'm gonna go. Like some people are like, oh no, I'm gonna go watch this. Oh, like Italy and Turkey are playing, for example. Like I remember I went to the room earlier on in the tournament and watched Italy against Turkey with about 6 of us. Like, and there's some people that don't want anything to do with it. People have wives and kids and whatever, and they're on Skype and like, yeah. My thing was I was trying to figure out because my girlfriend then fiance now Anna was at the tournament. And what date was that Spain game? Was that the 22nd?
Give me a second just to go up the notes here. Yeah, it was the 22nd of August.
So that was Anna's birthday. So my whole post game.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yep, it was.
22nd, that was Anna's birthday. So my whole post game was how do I sneak a little cupcake with a candle out of the locker room into like they were all after every game, all the GB fans were standing outside the arena ready to sort of like people's families. That was the 10 minutes you got to see your family. That was the 10 minutes I got to see Anna was there and my sister Emma were there, and it was Anna's birthday. So I came out with a little cupcake with a candle in it, lit the candle. Really hard to find someone who has a lighter in an elite level wheelchair basketball team, funny enough. But yeah, so did that, went outside and tried to get as many of the lads to sing happy birthday as possible, which was funny because Anna didn't really want to be the center of attention. But yeah, so that was my post game that day. And then, as I say, you go back, you eat some food, you chill out. We had a bit of freedom to be able to, like, you eat with the team and whatever, and then if your family are around the corner sitting eating dinner, you can go sit with them and chat. So a couple of nights I'd have disappeared and gone and met up with everyone, and a couple of nights, like there was one night, I think it was either the night after the semi-final, the night before it, me and Harry just went for a dander and like just walked down. There was like a nice little square with a river running through it in Hamburg. It's really nice. So we just went for a dander, which was good fun. But yeah, you kind of just chill out is the main thing. You try and look after yourself because you have a game within 24 hours for sure. So
yeah, that's another thing that people maybe outside the tournament, whether it be any type of sport outside the tournament experience, don't realize that there has to be an even keel. Yeah, you get that massive spike when you're on court or you've won a game or you've lost a game to a certain extent. But the quicker we can get back to kind of like an even keel, yeah, just settle your heart rate, get some food back on, get back to some form of normality, get back into team training, whatever it may be. That's the best thing, in my opinion, that a team can do, because then it's about the process at that point, just moving from, right, okay, we've done our job here, what's our next job? Outlining the things that we got to look at toward moving towards beating another team, and not being up here for 24 hours, like really, really buzzing. And that's a really, really hard thing to do. I think, in my opinion, that's a really hard thing to do, to come back to an arena full of people, to then being in a hotel room with Jim Palmer, for example, in your experience, and sitting down, having a coffee and a bite to eat, and back into your post-recovery routine. Whereas I think some people outside of that experience maybe think that you're having a blast of a time and there's media here and they're doing this, this, and this. The quicker that everybody can get back and get food on board and get back into some form of normality, then it's probably the best thing for the team.
Yeah, that's it. Like there's so much going on. Like as you say, you mentioned media. That's something I hadn't said. Like every day there's like post-game interviews for certain players. I think you need to play a bit more and a bit better than I do to get one of those. But there's people being pulled to the side to do interviews for roles, or like even there was like media at home taking an interest. So you were like sending out messages or replying to emails or whatever. And that's all stuff people can do in their own time. But if you have a game that's 40 minutes long and you say you start getting ready an hour and an hour and a bit behind before it, and then you warm down after, at most you're switched on for 2.5 hours. or you need to be switched on for the 2.5 hours, and then if obviously if you've team meetings or whatever, but like it's really important to not leave that switch on all day, because you don't. Some people can just keep it on. I absolutely cannot, but I don't think it's healthy for anyone, and you're certainly better if you save some of your energy, because that takes a lot of mental energy. The whole experience takes a lot of mental energy as well, so it's important to create spaces that you're just chilling. Like I watched so many movies that tournament. Like a lot of the time we spent was like me and Jim were in our room. We'd have a couple of different like people would spend a lot of time in our room because we'd have the coffee machine, or I'd go around. I know two of the boys who were rooming together had an Xbox, so some of the younger crowd were in there. So you just kind of, there's some days that you have like 6 hours where it's like, all right, you've had a game this morning, you have your lunch, and then the next thing we need you for is dinner. So
Yeah.
do whatever. Like I went for a dander into the middle of the town and found a quiet, weird, high quality coffee shop, because of course I've got a radar for that sort of thing. Set me anywhere, I'll find you one. I found a nice cafe in the middle of a Polish town that I can't even pronounce when we were at the Europeans. So like I'm good for that. But that's what I would have done to chill myself out if I was in Belfast or Sheffield or whatever. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go do that. So yeah, that's what it's so much. It's about like finding out how to turn it on for the hour and whatever before a game and during the game and after the game, and then it's about finding out how to switch it off to be able to not lose your mind.
Absolutely. And then obviously, Danny, you've got the semi.
Yeah, so you said already, obviously Iran was the way it fell. I suppose to people listening to this, might find that a surprise name in there from an outside Wales basketball point of view, but obviously, as we know, in Wales basketball, maybe not so much. 63-86, James.
We can score.
You can score, absolutely. I don't know if you want to. I think that's the most points you scored all tournament in a game. It was, yeah. So, any thoughts on that?
How many was that? I don't remember. It can't have been more than about 4.
86, and you had a 79 and 78.
Yeah, no. That was they play as sort of 3 bigs, 2 lows. So they're big and their guys can shoot, and like big guys can get up and down the floor. But we're a great offensive team. We've got like depth in terms of people who can score and people who can work for each other to get a good look. And when you get that many guys on the floor that can cause damage in different positions, it's really hard to cover everything. And what I specifically remember from that game is I got brought on pretty near the end of the second quarter. So there's a certain pass I made that it was like one of those where I was like, this is the only thing available, and I absolutely do not feel comfortable doing it, but I'm going to try it anyway. And it ended up pretty well. It was one of those where it was like, I was in transition, someone was getting out of the basket, I couldn't make it to them, but I had like a weird sort of like hook pass to someone who might have been able to get there. And I like nearly messed it up, but it went perfectly. And I was so nervous. Like I remember going into halftime, it was Phil Pratt, and being like, "Was that all right?" And he was like, "Yeah, perfect, class." But that was my memory of it. Yeah, they're big. They did well to get to the semi-final. They got their fair and square. That game against Turkey in the quarterfinal was absolutely nuts. I went and watched that as a fan because I was like, this is going to be class. Özgür Gerbalak, the Turkish number 5, the kind of main man for them, hits a 3-pointer from the car park at one point to try and bring them back into it. It's absolutely nuts. Like you might, like if the camera was slightly moved over, you'd have seen me just being like, what do you do? But no, that was a really cool game, and Iran did brilliantly to pull through that. So obviously you deserve to be in the semi-final if you get to the semi-final of World Championship. But yeah, just their size was going to cause us some problems if we weren't careful. So that's something we were very aware of, but we knew we could play good defense. We knew we could score. So I think we're confident going into every game. We kind of trusted in the game plan and what we knew we could do, and yeah, it worked out.
Was there any difference in the feel in the arena when you had a European team back to back in Poland, Germany, and Spain, and then you went Iran was the first team that were non-European for 3 or 4 kind of fixtures. Was there any difference there?
No, maybe from the Germany game because home crowd, but we're very lucky that we have a large group of traveling fans of like the Warburtons and the Bateses, and obviously Anna was there, and my sister Emma was there, and that was we had quite a large group of different relatives, and the women's team were at the same tournament. So if they weren't playing, the women's team's family members would come and support us, and vice versa. So that was cool. So I was very lucky that as long as our fans showed up, that's kind of what we heard anyway. Like we had drums and tambourines, and I think Greg's dad had a megaphone at one point. But yeah, so that was largely my experience of hearing the crowd. It was a lot of English speaking, a lot of English accents, and a couple of Northern Irish ones, and that was no, there was no real difference, and the rest of the room was filled up with sort of similar amounts of fans for each team, and then just very general people who lived close enough to show up for the crack.
Yeah.
Like whether it was German or like people flew in, there was like English people who just cared about basketball who wanted to show up, for example. So yeah.
From my opinion as well, watching it, that game particularly, as you mentioned, the Iranians have a lot of height. We've experienced those guys, but in terms of like junior tournaments, James, as well, and it's the same sort of drill, and same sort of style of play, and they're very good at what they do. But something in me watching that game was kind of like, GB just have the momentum. There's just something about this team right now that they're dominant. It doesn't matter who. Once you kind of broke that Spain kind of hex almost, where it was nervy, where it was just like looking in the Sharks' eyes, and it was like scary to watch because you were just in the emotion of no matter what you're going to do, we're going to find a way to beat you. We're going to find a way to tear you apart and just keep going and going and going. And there's something really, really satisfying about watching it. Obviously see it from an outsider's perspective, but watching a team build at that point where they're just an absolute machine, an offensive and defensive machine. So that was class to watch. But then obviously you beat Iran, and then the biggie straight after that. You had 2 days to build up to that. That was the semis were on the 24th of August. Final was on the 26th of August against the USA. What was that like? What was the build up to that like?
Day off, if I remember correctly, which I might not. Like I'm once again, the order of all these things, it might be a little bit mixed up in my head. I think we had a very a fairly relaxed day off, which was lovely. And then you get closer to it, and it's like, as I say, most of it's making sure you're physically and mentally ready and able to play. Like you want everyone to be healthy enough to play, and those guys that have taken a lot of minutes during the tournament, you want to make sure that they're feeling good and whatever. And there was just a lot of different chats about how we're going to run it and what we're going to do. And we had a team meeting I think it was the morning of, with like video and game plan and stuff, and that was very precise and worked very well, obviously. And that was cool. Like we were fairly relaxed, and then after the team meeting, we did a bit of like physio, a bit of stretching, put the music on. We actually, think it was that morning, once again, all a blur, Ben Fox had gone in for heart surgery during the summer at one point, and we Skyped him in and kind of had a chat with him. So that was good crack. Once again, I'm not sure if that was final morning, but that's my memory of it. But so you have your meeting, you kind of try and stretch and get loose, and we're chatting to Ben, or we're listening to music, or as is, Phil's been in that room because you stretch, and one of the things you do to sort of release your tightness in your muscles is use a tennis ball. There's a tennis ball pinging around at any given point. Like people are trying to play cricket, or like with like a fake leg as a stump. I don't know how that works. But and another one is, but you know what I mean? Like it's a bit of a get down to business, and then there's a real conscious effort to just chill out and have a bit of fun. And then, go to the game, same thing, team talk, warm up, win a basketball game, clap, do a lot of this.
For those who don't know, GB, went on to eventually win that game 79-62 which against the US is pretty significant. Pretty significant.
Score.
James, obviously you've said you were handing out water on one thing again, but I will lay back to that team, that thing that kind of summed you up to start off with, whether you were on the court or whether you were off the court. You were part of the team. You were part of the group that went through this whole journey. What was that game like to be just involved in, regardless of whether you were on the court or off the court? What was it? What was that feeling like?
I guess now is the time to express the fact that I felt an enormous amount of gratitude to even be a part of that, because it's a very special experience, and like a very special experience. And I think this team is obviously going to go on and win a couple more things. Obviously, like we've already won a European Championship since we've spoken about it. There's no reason why this group of guys and the people who are coming through can't go on and dominate for I don't know how long, but that was like none of that is an absolute given. Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty about everything right now, which just goes to show that it's absolutely worth appreciating those memories and those experiences. But being a part of that final was so nerve-wracking. Like nerve-wracking. There was one point where like one of the guys who I might have been a similar classification to picks up a certain amount of fouls, and I was like, oh no. Okay, here we go. And I started getting like nervous energy, but the rest of the game was just screaming at people and throwing towels and sort of feeling very nervous, but pretty excited about the whole thing. And then there's a point with a couple of minutes to go that the game looks like it's out of reach, but you don't want to say that because boy, would you look stupid if you're caught celebrating on the bench and then they make a comeback. But no, there was a couple of points in the game that I was like, oh my God, we're going to do this. Like there was a point where very early on, like one of the guys on our team who they had planned to sort of leave open if they had to, made 2 shots from the same spot in a row. And I was like, all right, here we go. And then there's points later on in the game where certain people score or do certain things, or we see our game plan working, and that makes for a very, very exciting time on the bench. And yeah, just being a part of that whole team atmosphere was absolutely amazing. Like, yeah. I'm so fortunate that the opportunities afforded to me growing up and the support that I was given have led to me being able to get there. Like, that's not something that a lot of people get to for many reasons, but certainly one of them is that I had the opportunities and was able to take them because of the support I had. And that was just the culmination of all of it. And that was really, really special. And I don't think, even if I don't ever do another one, that's something I'll never forget.
Absolutely. My take on it from a fan's perspective, watching that game, was like, at the beginning, nervousness. Really, really proud to see you on the bench and included within that kind of group of people, because I know how good that group are. Let's just put it that way, and the people who are around that group as well, regardless of whether you want or not.
Being on the bench for that group is an achievement, I feel like, because that's unbelievable. Like, there's some unbelievable guys there. Like, yeah,
and it was like watching 2 of the world's best heavyweight boxers just going at it, like toe to toe, no backing off, no. It was like watching 2 guys just going at it hard. And then, as you say, there was a couple of moments in the game where I was like almost out of my seat, going, the guys are going to break them. They're actually going to break them here, and there's going to be a point where that kind of that point of no return, you know, where it was just like it's just done, and you just knew it. It was just mad to watch. It was really, really mad to watch. But the ref blows a whistle, or the horn goes. Like, what madness ensued after that?
I think a fair indication of how I was feeling is if you manage to like follow it, like everyone's pushing about, like hugging in big groups, and I'm just kind of pushing about on my own, being like, what is happening? Like, I took myself off and was just like, what's going on? You know, like completely just out of my, like, just like it was like an out of body experience. And then you're pushing around, you're hugging people, and that's all very good fun. And then it's a weird one where you like, you have to hang around after that because you're like, oh, happy days, you celebrate, and then you're like, all right, let's go. It's like, no, there's a bit of mucking around to do first. There's ceremonies, there's medals, there's trophies, which is obviously all part of it. But it's from the buzzer going to like leaving the arena once you've taken all your photos and you've taken the net down and you've celebrated and you've got your got all your bits and pieces and whatever. That's a very long time. Like it's a lot of fun and there's a lot of photos and there's a lot of messing around, but it's so funny. It's like the last day of school and it was like, come on, we'll get in a photo, and it was like, no, I want to mess around, stop it. But yeah, no, it was absolutely nuts for like the rest of the evening. It was so much fun. Like, and I don't even mean like a big mad party. Like the rest of it was just like really like enjoyable, and some of it was chilled out, and like the closing ceremony and stuff is, it's all very cool and lighthearted, and everyone's getting on and everyone's having a great time. Obviously, we're having a better time than most because we've just won the whole thing, but it's a really, really cool experience. Like everyone's just enjoying themselves. But right after the game, buzzer goes and you just kind of push around and hug people and mess around until you get your medal. Like take photos with various different groups of people, and yeah.
Can I just ask two questions? So first one is, who slept with the trophy?
I don't know. Not me. I don't remember. I don't know who. I don't know how that works. Whether we like get it out of the way if we're like celebrating and having a couple of drinks. Like I don't know if that's what happened, but I do know that it's massive, and it was Jim's job to take it through the airport the next day because we're like, all right, rookie, there you go. Even though there was like a couple of us that were like, me and him were both new, but he was smaller than me, so it was funnier. And you've seen the trophy, like
that's huge, yeah,
twice the size of what I can fit on this screen. But yeah, no, I don't remember where it went, but we all just took our time, got photos. The dressing room after it's the most fun thing in the world because there's a really funny bit where George had a speaker. He was the one that kind of controlled the music pre-game and stuff. We all put requests in, we made a playlist, but he had the speaker and it was on his phone. So we came into the thing and we were like, yeah, get the speaker on. You know what song to put on. It's obvious. And people had 3 different ideas. Like, it was like, obviously we are the champions, and people from up north were like, obviously you put Wonderwall on. What do you do? Like, it was funny, but yeah, no, it was like that's the most fun bit of it because there's like you're in Germany, so people have kind of handed in a couple of drinks by that point, and you're all getting photos, and like some people have flags around them, some people don't. There's like, yeah, you're getting a selfie with your medal and the trophy, and you're turning to the guy beside you, feel like it's a good laugh. It's a very uniquely fun experience, and it's rightfully it is unique because you only get there maximum once a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really cool. Sorry, what was your other question?
Second question. What was the emotion or feeling like, or when you sat down, get into your bed, and you look down and you still got your medal around your neck, and there's nobody else about, and it's just you and your own thoughts?
I was steaming. No, no. Actually, wasn't, to be fair. It was a kind of a chilled night. By then, you've already gone through the emotional roller coaster. Like I've already at that stage, like I've already like hugged Anna, hugged my sister, phoned my dad, and cried down the phone as you do when you're whatever. Yeah, you absolutely do and can and should cry. But yeah, so that's already done, and then you've had a party and you've done whatever, and at that stage, it's kind of like you're already being like, "Wow, can't believe it! Did that actually happen?" But I think we had quite an early wake up the next morning for the airport as well, so I think
So here.
Go back to the start of the episode. Like I just went to sleep because I can sleep, and I don't know if I still have I probably did still have my medal. I was, believe it or not, I went to bed at 11:30 the night I won a World Championships. No word of a lie, 11:30.
It's all about the process, big man. It's just professionalism.
Yeah, bring on the next one. Yeah.
It was not wanting to feel terrible on the plane.
Yeah.
That was a combination of different things. I was just like, this is a good time to dip out because I didn't want to. Yeah, you don't want to like ruin it by having a headache the next morning or missing your flight the next morning because you're half asleep, and you know what I mean. Like you didn't want to sully the experience with all of that. So yeah, I think I dipped out at the right time. It's very graceful of me.
Danny, have you any questions about that? Like 10 of the World Championships?
No, do you know what? It's less of a question, more of a phrase, I suppose, which would be just unbelievable insight. And I think the way that I pitched it to you guys earlier was, as a kid, having those football mats on your wall and following England in the tournaments or whatever. That's what I feel like we've done, which is lovely and to go through. I think one of the things is, as a precursor to this, and if you haven't seen it, we posted, the final game on Facebook a couple of days prior to this. So watch it through, see the celebrations at the end. It's brilliant. It's a great watch.
Yeah. Track me just pushing around in my own someone to hug.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that was, as I say, like, I just want to, before we cut this off, like, I just want to say that it was absolutely special, and it was a complete, like, it was an honor to be involved with that group of people and that program. And obviously coming from this program and growing up where I grew up and where Phil, me and you both grew up, like, Danny, you're an outsider. You're one of them. No. You're one of us now, but you know what I mean?
You moved to where I grew up.
Yeah, I did. And then I moved out. I moved
to where you grew up.
Yeah, it's warmer as you go further south. But yeah, no, it was an absolutely incredible experience, and I have so many people that I would have to thank and did thank and will thank again several times in my career, from nights and DSNI and friends and family, and none of it happens without them. Like, especially like I'm not going to do it because I've done it already, but none of this happens without a very large list of people who already know how I feel. So
yeah.
If you didn't get an Instagram message within 3 days, it's not you. No, this has been really cool to kind of go back on, because it's a very special experience, and I feel like I've been caught up with the fact that because of a combination of illness and Corona stuff, I've missed a bit of time, and instead of feeling sorry for myself about that sort of stuff, it's been cool to go back and kind of remind
thank
myself.
You very much. Great insight.
It's been brilliant to hear, that kind of step by step, going through the phases of the tournament, and who you're just really, really fond memories, obviously. But I don't know whether I'm going to speak for you, James. I probably am, but there will be more to come from this man. The One World Championships isn't just going to sum this guy up. So keep watching, folks. Keep watching the GB team.
Thanks, Phil.
And there's bigger and better things to come, because that team are incredible, just as a group of people and as a team as well. So keep an eye out on the GB men's and women's senior squads. James, thanks again, mate, for giving us that breakdown of a really, really kind of like special time in your life, and it's a privilege to be kind of like part of it. I suppose, Dolly, I don't know whether you can claim that this is going to be, the best part of the podcast this time, because we're just talking about the guy winning the World Championships with the GB squad. So, but we'll go with Danny's lightning round. So, Danny,
have we not already done a lightning round?
Don't you worry.
I thought we'd done a lightning round. Have you changed it?
When Phil said bigger and better things, this is what he meant. So just be okay.
I thought we'd done it.
We've got quick fire round with a twist.
Oh, cool. Is it just like question 1, follow James on Instagram? Question 2.
Okay, 7 quick ones this time.
Cool.
Okay. But they're all obviously related to the tournament. So, question 1 is, out of the 2 venues, what was the best venue at the World Championships?
The main one, absolutely. The other one was like a makeshift court in a tent that there were a couple of problems with. So yeah, the main one that's meant to be the last one.
In terms of the tournament itself, who did you think was the best player in the whole tournament, for your own opinion?
Craig Warburton, who won the MVP. But guy just shot the lights out for a whole thing. Our whole starting 5 was unbelievable. Harry Brown had a son a day before he got on the plane and played the tournament of his life, so he gets an extra little shout out. I went to visit them and the new baby like the day before, and he was like, all right, cool, see you, bye. Unbelievable. What a legend. But yeah, Greg.
Funniest moment of the tournament?
Oh God, that I can tell you about.
That you can tell us about. That's PG.
God, I don't know. A lot of it was very funny.
He's going through his head. What can I tell you?
I'm going through my head. No, I'm just like, None of it was really dodgy and really weird. But that whole watching Dylan Cummins after a couple of drinks, we won the whole thing. I'll go for.
Yeah, no, that's a good show. Phil's been Hamburg. Describe it in one word. It depends which part of Hamburg you go to, I guess. But
one word.
One word.
Decent. No, lovely.
Lovely.
Lovely. Yeah. Nice wee spread with water, good hotel, good basketball court. That's all I saw. Me and Harry got ice cream one night.
Toughest team at the tournament you played against?
USA.
Yeah, makes sense. Toughest individual player you played against?
That I played against. First time I was near Steve Serio and he had the ball, I was like, I got no chance of stopping him. So yeah, Steve Serio.
Last one. When you think back to the tournament, what's the one bit that really gets you excited? Gives you kind of makes your hair stand up on your neck.
The sort of the group element of it, being involved with those 11 guys and however many members of staff. I'll extend that to the fans, like everything. Just being a part of that group, being in that little bubble is so special. Like it's amazing.
Absolutely.
It's so
that's brilliant. That's it. It was with a twist. You passed our first round. We had to give you a second round.
Cool.
But no, thank you very much. That's great. Phil, that's great.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, Danny. Folks, that's going to be wrapping up episode 8. So as per usual, keep an eye out on our DSNI social media platforms for the podcast, the Lockdown Podcast, our staff workouts. The guys are producing some unbelievable stuff every week. So keep an eye out for that. And as always, continue to kind of follow the government guidelines in terms of health and safety and making sure we're all staying safe. The reason why we're all at home the majority of the time. So remember to wash your hands, stay 2 meters apart. Social distancing is saving lives, as we well know. James is giving you a wee demo, so keep it up. I suppose a big shout out to Danny and James. We've been doing this for 8 episodes now, and it's been really, really fun. It's been amazing. Today has been brilliant, a personal favourite of mine. And just being able to kind of hear your thoughts, James, in terms of like the World Championships experience, not so much a 2-minute clip of how did you feel, but actually moving, giving you time to actually explain things and explore it a wee bit more. So again, thanks for your time, lads. It's been really, really fun. I suppose people at home, just stay safe, stay active, and stay at home. Peace. See you next week.
Bingo. See ya.